Hello world of YouTube, and welcome to another episode of Viral's Movie Reviews, where I review movies that you guys suggest to go to the movies and see or I feel like discussing. And this video is the first of many videos where I'm going to be discussing Kevin Smith's filmography, or his oeuvre, except for his stand-up specials, because I don't really want to talk about this. I'm talking about his directorial movies. And this was requested by RockstarBase100 on Facebook. Not on the fan page, he just messaged me on Facebook asking, can you do this? Would you be down for this? And I was like, sure, I'll review Kevin Smith's movies. I like Kevin Smith. And if you don't know who Kevin Smith is, he's a director. He's made a lot of comedies and random other movies. But he got to start as an independent filmmaker with this movie, Clerks, which is my favorite movie of all time. Before I get into the movie itself, if you haven't seen Clerks, I highly recommend it because it's a great film. Again, favorite film of all time. This guy's gets my personal recommendation. And this film kind of, I think, unexpectedly catapulted Kevin Smith's career into the notable director that he is now. And I think that's interesting because while this film is the first in a series of films, it both feels like it, yet it doesn't. Because you walk away from this movie going, okay, this is a clear arc to this story. There's not going to be anything else. But it sets up events that occur or are referenced in other movies that Kevin Smith has done very well. And it introduces characters that, you know, people who love Kevin Smith films now know and love very, very well. And one of the things I really love about this movie that is another reason why I love Kevin Smith films in general, is that he can write unlikable people as lovable characters. And the two biggest cases to that are Randall and Jay. Now, again, I love those characters, but I think these people in everyday life I would not like, because they are kind of assholes. But that's what's awesome and lovable about him. That's what's great about him. Like, Randall is a great friend to Dante, but he doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. I mean, especially in Clerks, there's a scene where he's reading porno mags in front of the customers, downright offending them. There's a scene where he's watching transgender porn in the store while they're still open, because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about his job, and he knows he's not going to lose it because no one else wants it. And that's great. That's awesome. I love that about Dante. He has an I don't give a fuck attitude, and it's well represented, especially within this movie. And Jay is the other example, who Jay gets a lot more light than Randall. But in this movie especially, Jay's just a not likable asshole drug dealer who later becomes a burnout, but is hilarious in this movie. I mean, and he's hilarious in the other movies as well, but I mean, he's such a vulgar, perverted, just immature little shit, but you love him for it. And I think that's partially both due to the actors portraying them and Kevin Smith's writing. Because I think that if anyone else were playing Jay and Randall or any of the other unlikable characters that are lovable in Kevin Smith films, they wouldn't be done as well. I think that Kevin Smith really chose his actors well, and I think that the people he chooses in general play their characters well, and this film is a great example of the beginnings of that. I love Veronica's character, I love Dante's character, Randall's character, Jay's character, I love Silent Bob, I love Monica, I think that's her name, but Dante's other girlfriend from the beginning of the movie, the side characters, just this film just has a bunch of people that are well represented and well acted. And another thing I love about this movie in particular is that it does a good job, I feel like, of representing how store clerks feel. While I've never worked at like a convenience store, I do have friends who do. I don't talk to them much, but I do have friends who do. And I feel like this is the type of shit they go through, aside from the weird events, like the people they encounter, like the stupid customers, and the people who ask the same 5 questions all the time, and the weird old people, like, aside from like the cigarette people and all that stuff, the typical customers, I feel like that's what they encounter. But that being said, this movie is freaking nuts in terms of events happening in a typical day, because the story of Clerks is that Dante is called into work on a day that he's not scheduled to work, and it is probably the worst possible day to be called into work. I mean, there's a protest, not because of him, but he gets fined for selling a child cigarettes. He misses a hockey game. He almost misses a funeral, and he finds out that one of his exes is getting married. Like, all this stuff happens throughout the course of this day that just is not a very good day for Dante, but it's hilarious to see what happens nevertheless. And along the way, you meet his friend Randall, who is, again, a not likable guy typically that runs the store next door, which is a video store. And you kind of see their conversations of what you might see on a typical day mixed in with all of these weird happenings. And that's another thing I really like about it. It knows when to be weird, but it also knows when to just be normal. And even some of the conversations they have are weird, but they're awesome. Like the Death Star conversation. It's one of those weird conversations that you feel like you should have had before, but you never have. You never think about it. Or there's a scene where anytime Randall's on screen confronting Dante really makes a lot of sense, but those kind of conversations really make the film a lot more lighthearted, mixing it with the weirdness, the discussions of the milkmaids, and the weird businessman who's trying to find the perfect dozen of eggs. There's just a lot within this movie that I like. There's a lot of charm to it, there's a lot of style, but there's also a lot of just straightforward comedy. The film itself is broken up into these sections that kind of reflect the theme of the discussion at hand, and it's an interesting film. It's a really good first film, if you ask me. I feel like Kevin Smith came out swinging with a really good film that catapulted him into a pretty good film career. But nevertheless, I love this film. I love the camera work. It's all filmed in black and white, by the way, not by choice, but because it's budgetary constraints, because this was an independent film. So it's got it's one of the other things I like about it. I like the fact that it's a black and white film. I don't know why. This is one of the things I really like about it. It's a black and white film. But yeah, it's a great film. That's my view on Clerks. Again, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Whether you rent it, see it on Netflix, or buy it yourself. I own it. It's my favorite movie of all time. So, yeah. But I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this first of many discussions of my Kevin Smith filmography. The next film in his filmography that I'm going to discuss is Mallrats. So, be staying tuned for that. I don't know if it's the next movie review I'm going to do, but that's the next Kevin Smith filmography review I'm going to do. But I've been Viralrak. You guys have good days, odds, and situations, and I'll see you another day.